Welcome back to the Atheist Experience. I'm Ashley Perrien, your host for this week, and our co-host, Keryn Glasser. Welcome back. We are the Atheist Experience. We are sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We're currently having weekly meetings every Sunday at 11:30 at Crescent City Beignets on West 6th Street. Just a little bit west of Lamar, a couple blocks west of Lamar. That is every Sunday at 11:30 until basically whenever we decide to leave. Other things that we normally do, Monday night we have Godless Gamers. We get together, play board games, card games, role-playing games, all that kind of stuff. We also have on Thursday nights Atheist Happy Hour at Antonio's Tex-Mex, which is on the near the corner of I-35 and 183, just south of the 183. That starts again around 7:30 or so. People kind of trickle in and out all night, so just come around, look for a table, and like I said, we're usually there. For details on that and our many other things that we do, we have the website atheist-community.org. We have a fact page on there, we have meeting links, we have the email list that we're on, and all this kind of stuff. Lots of information about the group and the TV show, and also the Nonprofits Internet Audio Show, which is our bi-weekly internet audio show. It's an MP3 stream hosted on atheistnetwork.com. There was a show yesterday, and I'm trying to remember, it was on the new Air America, I believe it is.
Oh, Frankenfactor.
Air America, there's a new radio network, Air America, and they have a show on it hosted by Al Franken, the Frankenfactor, I believe it is. So apparently they did some talking on that. That is most likely on our website under the Nonprofits radio link now. If it's not, give it a day or two and it should be up. But again, that's every other week on Atheist Network. It's a live MP3 stream. And again, that's mostly news and just analysis and just banter among atheists. It's hosted by Jeff D., one of our rotating co-hosts, and also produced by Russell Glasser, another one of our rotating co-hosts. So we have a lot of crosstalk among the shows, but makes it interesting. I believe that's it really for normal announcements.
Potluck on Saturday.
Potluck on Saturday? Yes. Our monthly potluck, which is the third Saturday of every month, is this upcoming Saturday, the 17th. And that, I believe, is hosted by Jenny Glasser? Mm-hmm. Okay, so, yeah. Again, if you go to our website and you write to the webmaster, there will be he can send you details on exactly when and where that is. I believe it's at 7 o'clock, starting at 7 o'clock on Saturday night. Now, is that it?
I think so.
Okay, then. All right, again, welcome to the show. This is the Atheist Experience. We're a live call-in show. We're going to be on for the next hour and a half or so. We get to calls typically after about a half an hour or so just hold tight. We'll put the number up pretty soon. First, we're going to go to Keryn Glasser, our co-host for the week, and who is going to do something about set design for us.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so I've been on the show for a while, even though I haven't been the co-host until just recently. I do cameras and phone calls and whatever's been on. And you know, sometimes when we're having the show, we have these two pretty tacky looking fish. Hey. You know, we've got an evolved fish and a Jesus-free fish, and there's some debate about whether or not we like those. So when we decide we don't like those, we put this up. Here, guys.
Yep. We could try and zoom in on our variable.
I want to talk about this today. I don't like this. This makes me mad. Okay? So we're going to talk about this. We're going to not put this up here. Instead, we're going to have this pretty little sticker called Think, which is very appropriate for an atheist show, even though it's a Christian sticker.
Yes.
I don't understand why. And I really like this one. I like skepticism as a virtue. I think that's a good sticker for us to have on the show. Anyway, I want to talk about the American flag a little bit. The American flag makes me mad. First of all, if we are an atheist show and we're talking about, you know, lack of religion, I don't think we necessarily have any place having an American flag on the show in the first place, except that we want to tell our audience, hey, we're Americans too. We love America too, even though we don't love God, right?
Okay.
Right?
Which is a valid point. Perhaps, perhaps not.
I suppose.
Well,
but I don't like. I'm gonna have to go live on the air, and I'm gonna have to say that I'm not very patriotic.
okay.
And by that, I don't mean I hate our country, and I don't mean that I'm a terrorist. I'm gonna blow anything up. Okay, I just want to let you guys know that right now. I'm a tree-hugging, animal-loving pacifist. So, but in my mind, patriotism serves the same function that we frequently say that religion serves, and that is to segregate people out from other people and to say that if you're not with us, we're against us, and if you don't follow our ways, you're wrong and we hate you. I mean, Al Franken on his new show just said something along the lines of, the conservatives believe that you should love our country the way that children love their parents. They're right. They can do no wrong. They're wonderful people.
Okay.
We do whatever they say. Liberals believe, Al Franken said that Americans should love our country the way adults love each other, and that is, I love you because you're good, and if you do something wrong, I'm going to help you figure out how to straighten that out.
Okay.
I'm going to work with you to make it better.
Okay.
We don't blindly love our country no matter what they do. And I think that I'm very, very proud to live in America for a lot of reasons. For example, that I can say I'm not patriotic on live television and I don't like our president. Okay? This is my personal view, okay? I'm not saying that the view of the ACA is we don't like our president, but I don't like our president. And I can say that on live television. And I think that's very progressive, and that's something we should really, really love about our country. But there's a lot of countries that have a lot of good stuff to say that Americans can't really say. For example, we're not the country with the lowest amount of death by gun violence. I think that would belong to, like, Canada. And we're not the country with the lowest unemployment rate. That would probably belong to, I don't know, China or Japan or India. And we're not the country with the best healthcare system. That would probably belong to Switzerland or France. And of course, if anybody wants to look up these statistics and call in and let us know, feel free. We love to have facts, and I would have brought them in ahead of time, but I didn't really find anything when I looked. So, we're a good country, and we have a lot of good stuff to say, but I think that patriotism functions to blind us from working with other countries to get good ideas from other people about, different ways that we could, I don't know.
The Made in America sticker means it's better than anything else. But it's usually a closed-minded kind of thing, as in, we're not picking and choosing the best things, as in, other countries may have the best system of doing this. Germany makes better cars. Sorry to say it, they do. So, Made in America on a car may not be the best thing in the world. It's patriotic, but that doesn't necessarily make it by definition a good thing. So.
Okay. So, and it's not, I don't have my dictionary on me. I should have brought it. But it's, patriotism and nationalism in general. I'm not saying that I don't think America has it all together. I'm saying that patriotism and nationalism don't have a good function. The only function they serve is to give us another reason to hate other people.
Okay.
We're better than you, and if you're not with us, you're against us. I don't agree with that. I think that's one of the main functions that religion serves. And I think that in many ways, politics becomes a religion for a lot of people. And I think that it functions in the same way.
Yeah. They're both very divisive issues. As in, people typically are going to have an opinion on religion and politics. You're always told by family members. Strong
opinion.
Exactly. You're told by your parents, these are the two things that you don't discuss in polite society because they're going to tick people off. And
that's why we're here.
Exactly. That's usually what we end up doing, is trying to poke our fingers in something that's a little bit sensitive to see what happens. And this show is typically about religion, and we're not here necessarily to change any minds or tell you that you're wrong or anything like that. It's just to give a different opinion, a different outlet, a different set of ideas to challenge the status quo and just shake it up a little bit and see how strongly held those beliefs are and what they're doing, essentially. We don't expect people to agree with us. I certainly don't. Most of our callers don't agree with us to a large extent, and that's fine. As long as they look at the beliefs that they do have, critically evaluate them. If they go away, believing stronger in what they believed before, then I'm perfectly fine with that. They've thought about it critically, and they have come to a conclusion based on what they know of the world. That's a good thing. That's a great thing, getting people to think.
If they've thought about it critically.
Exactly.
But, okay, and here I'm going to reintroduce this little flag thing here. Okay, we've got our Pledge of Allegiance that we say every morning in our classrooms, like good patriotic little children who have absolutely no idea what it is we're saying.
Yes.
Take out the under God part, and I still don't agree with the pledge. I still don't like the pledge. You're making a bunch of little children stand up and repeat something that they've memorized, that they have no idea what it says, what they're saying, what they're talking about. Yeah. Every morning, it's a form of brainwashing. It's a very and even if we reworded the pledge, I saw a very good pledge that I really liked. Even if we took out the under God part, I don't think we should require our children to stand up every morning and pledge our allegiance to a flag. Okay? I don't want to pledge my allegiance to a flag. Let's pretend for a moment that I'm not an atheist, and this is a largely Judeo-Christian country. One of, as far as I know, the first 10 commandments that both Christians and Jews are supposed to pay attention to is, thou shalt not worship idols.
Okay. Graven images and such.
Graven images. American flags, okay? Great big monuments in public courthouses that have the 10 commandments carved into them. We do an awful lot of idol worship for a Christian nation, which I don't believe we're a Christian nation, but there's a lot of people that would like to say that we are.
But is that actually worshiping the idol, though? In terms of the flag or the monument or anything like that?
If we stand up every morning and we pledge our allegiance to a flag?
Well, again, that's the wording, but in actuality, I'm assuming,
we take out the
what
part
I
about
take it
under
to
God.
be is that what you're doing is pledging to the country, to the support of the country.
A bunch of little 6-year-olds
it's represented by
don't know enough about politics, and they don't know enough about our country to know why they should be pledging their allegiance to our country, except that they happen to have been born here.
Exactly.
Now, I read a very, very good alternate version of the pledge that somebody was suggesting. Somebody emailed it on our email list a little while ago, and I really, really liked it. And after reading this version, I said, I would stand up in class in high school when I was old enough to understand what I was saying, and I would proudly say that. See, for me, I didn't even learn the pledge until about 7th grade.
Okay.
Halfway through 7th grade, I stopped saying the under God part. By 8th grade, I stopped saying the pledge, and by 9th grade, I stopped standing for it. Okay? But this one that they send out over the internet, if anybody can find it and read it to us, I haven't been able to find it again, but it was like, I pledge allegiance to the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of America, and to the justice,
a little
to
bit
the
more
liberty
of what this,
for
what this country is actually founded on.
Yeah, without our country is not founded on hatred and belief in God, I'd like to think. Which would be why they came here and felt the need to have a new country, because they were dealing with all this religious oppression where they came from. So they came here to get away from that. Yeah. Okay? But, okay, so in our schools, little children who have no idea what they're saying are made to stand up every morning and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And then they have to get up, they have to stay standing, and they have to say, I pledge allegiance to Texas.
Yeah, it's the Texas pledge, which is only about 4 lines. I don't know exactly what it is.
I don't even think it's 4 lines. I thought it was just, I pledge allegiance to Texas.
No,
that's what I've heard. And then they have to follow it by a moment of silence.
Yeah.
Now, in my opinion, that would be like 10 minutes out of our children's day that they could be like learning something. Novel concept. Send our children to school to learn something rather than send our children to school to become brainwashed. Okay?
Yeah, that was the main issue that I had once this whole pledge case came up. It's the under God is a detail, and it is a part of it. Mostly I just have issues with blindly doing anything like that. And again, the pledge, the children typically don't understand it. They don't have a good grounding in, what's actually being said. It's just these string of random words that you get up and you do this, and then you ba-da-da-da-da-ba-da-da-ba-da-da, and then you're done. It's a breakup in the day, and it's just basically, it's not really understood. They don't know exactly what it is that's being said. And I don't agree that something like that should be happening, be it religious, patriotic, or anything for that matter. Again, once high school kids who have a little bit more understanding of this country, what it's founded on, stuff like that, if they want to pledge, I don't have a big problem with that. Once they understand what it is that's being said. But to require something like that is ridiculous.
If they want to say the Pledge of Allegiance, if they want to pledge their allegiance to our country, they should stand up in their bedroom when they're doing their morning Christian prayers and say it. It shouldn't have anything to do with starting your day at school.
Yeah.
I don't understand the point of going into school every morning and pledging your allegiance to the country. Obviously you live here, obviously you're growing up here, obviously you're going to eventually learn about politics, you're going to, you're probably going to become proud through your history classes of the country that we live in, the history we've come through. That doesn't mean that we need to stand up and say a pledge in order to prove it. Yeah. Okay? Now my mom was telling me the other day that she was in school when they added in the under God part.
Okay.
And when they were teaching it, she was used to saying it without the under God part. And when they were teaching it, they were just very, very careful to teach you that you don't say, I pledge allegiance, to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. You had to string those two together. One nation under God. It wasn't one nation
it's not
under
a
God.
Separate statement.
It was one nation under God. And they were very, very, very careful about teaching that. They don't do that anymore.
Wow.
Now people say one nation under God. She said they really, really ragged on them for doing it like that.
That's interesting.
I thought that was really interesting.
But then again, when that was actually put in, that was the whole point of it.
Now there is no point.
Well, it's not as stressed as much nowadays. But again, talking about the pledge case, they had some quotes and papers of what was written when it was actually put in 54. And it was with the knowledge of the government that kids were being expected and required to recite this at the beginning of every day. And basically saying, look, we have to differentiate ourselves from the atheistic, commies. That's exactly the point of putting under God in there. That was the entire point of it. And they knew that kids were being required to say this. And so it was with the intent that every day we're going to make the kids stand up and pledge that this is a nation under God. And it was not just hollow words of ceremonial deism or something like that. It was very, very specific what they're talking about. And now they're trying to argue that it doesn't really mean anything anymore. It certainly meant something when they put it in. So yeah, that could go.
But we're not a nation under God. We're a nation free from religious oppression, theoretically.
Exactly.
Anyway, so I'm going to take this little flag that we like to put up here, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to throw it over there.
And it may be up next week.
That's up to
the
other co-hosts.
Exactly, we'll see. Anyway, we can go ahead and put that number up for the show. Again, it's a live call-in show. We'll be happy to take callers and talk about pretty much anything you want to talk about. But again, we're kind of focusing on a little bit of nationalism, patriotism, the pledge, the flag, such today.
Yeah. And of course, I'd like to just mention again, this is not a political show. We're not a political group. We're a religious group. But it just seems to me like nationalism most often serves the same function that religion serves. And it's something for people to subscribe blindly to, and it's something for people to use to segregate themselves out from other people and to use it as an excuse to hate other people.
Yeah. It used to be that, we are Americans, we're so much better than all the Ruskies, and religion does the same thing. We're Christians, we're so much better than all the whatever other faith you decide to put in there.
And I mean, even if you just take it back to religion, I'm an atheist, but I believe that every religion has something good to offer. I mean, there's some reason that each religion decided to sit down and create a set of laws about how you get along in the world. And I believe that a lot of people don't use religion the way it was intended to be used, or they don't look for the good in a religion. They use religion as an excuse to hate other people.
Yeah.
But it's the same with nationalism. I believe that every country has something good to offer.
Yes. Yeah.
And
it would be nice if, required courses in high school now required you to travel overseas for a time. It would be nice if,
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Because again, people, usually the people who are most vehemently agreeable to something, as in, America rocks, this nation rules, are the people who've never been outside of it. The people who are most strongly saying that, Christianity is perfectly right, it's got everything, we answer all your questions, are the ones who've never actually looked at any other religions to any
great
extent.
Pledge their allegiance to Texas are the ones who have never left Texas.
So, and so it would be nice, if, again, more people traveled. Now, unfortunately, it's a very big country, so it's very difficult to do that.
And you can't require somebody to do something that you're not going to fund. So if you're going to require an exchange student program, which I think would be brilliant, you're going to have to fund it too.
Yeah, which would get vastly expensive.
But, yeah, right. I don't know. I was talking with you before about immigration and working in other countries a little bit. I don't remember how that came into play.
Typically from what I've seen, just like, say, immigration laws, again, they're very strict in the U.S., mostly because a lot of people are trying to get into the country, because it's this image of, in history, it's the land of gold. There are so many opportunities and stuff in the States.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know, except that they're taking all of our countries and they're sending them to other countries because other countries will do them for cheaper.
Yeah.
So now we don't have all those opportunities here. You have to go somewhere else. And honestly, I remember why I said it. It was because a lot of times when I tell people I'm not patriotic, I'm not a nationalist. I believe our country is good, but I believe a lot of other countries are good too. And to be perfectly honest, I would love to go spend some time in those other countries. Yeah. And people say, well, if you don't like the way we're doing it, then just move. And I'm like, well, I would if it were that simple. Yeah. But it's not that simple. First of all, if I were going to pick up and move somewhere, I'd have to get visas. I'd have to learn another language. I'd have to jump through a whole bunch of red tape and I've heard, my sister-in-law has a sister who married a man who lived in Germany, so she picked up and moved to Germany for like a year, and then she came back here, and she's been having a real hard time of coming back, getting back into the system, finding a job. Nobody seems to want to hire her because she picked up and moved to Germany for a year. Yeah. I would really think that it'd be a very valuable experience for a lot of Americans to just be able to just pick up and move to another country for a while, Yeah. But it's not that easy. And a lot of Americans are afraid to leave our country because we know how much red tape we create for people to come in here. And we're afraid it's going to be that difficult if we go anywhere else and if we try and come back.
Yeah. But again, it's like that for pretty much any country. Any country is typically going to promote itself as being the center and the best country in the world. Again, I've seen that. I've lived in England and Norway. And both those countries are very nationalistic. It's very much the opinion that, this is Norway. We have everything that you could possibly want here. It's the safest country in the world. And so why would you possibly want to go to America where they have shootings every other day, on every single street corner, somebody's getting shot every 20 minutes. How could you possibly want to go live somewhere like that? Well, America's got some good things to it. So does Norway. So does England. So does every other country out there. It's got some good to it. But anyway, let's go ahead and take one or two callers, see what we got. And first we can go to Kaitlyn. How you doing?
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, when I was in school, in like 4th grade, whenever we'd stand up to do the pledge, I didn't want to. Okay. And eventually I sat down and didn't do it, and the teacher said, well, you can either do the pledge or miss recess. And I said, well, I'm not doing the pledge.
Yeah.
And So I missed recess like 5 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know if to get out of it, did you require a note from your parents? I think I've heard something about that too.
No,
Or-
I don't think so.
Okay, all
I
right.
just told them I wasn't religious. I told them I was an
Okay.
atheist.
Also, did you have to do the Texas pledge?
No.
Okay, all right. It was just the U.S. pledge then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a moment
all
of silence.
Yep.
Yep.
right. Okay. All right. Okay. Did you have anything else for us?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks for calling.
Thanks for calling.
Okay, and also control, if we could get a little bit more volume on callers, that would be a good thing.
Yeah. I had a similar experience, because I said I stopped standing for the pledge in high school. And when I stopped standing for the pledge, some of my other classmates saw me not standing for the pledge, and they sat down too. And about halfway through the semester, most people weren't standing for the pledge anymore. And so my teacher at one point said, listen, if you have really sat there and thought about philosophically, thought about the pledge philosophically and you don't agree with what it stands for, then that's one thing. But if you're just not standing because, you don't feel like it or because you're lazy or whatever, then I would like to encourage you to stand for the pledge. And then I was one of the only ones left still sitting.
Yeah.
So.
Which is, unfortunately, pretty much what I would expect.
No, that's fine.
I could expect a couple of them, have thought about it and would, say, I don't agree with having to say this. But I can imagine that, well, if somebody else is getting out of it, well, I'm just going to sit down too.
I'm going to sit down too.
Yeah. So.
But I think it's, I think it's a big burden to put on children to decide to not stand for the pledge, which means that everybody in your class is going to notice you. And like Kaitlyn said,
Exactly.
you're going to have to miss recess. You say the pledge or you miss recess.
Yeah.
And it's a lot to put on a little kid.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really neat that there are some children that are willing to do that.
Exactly.
Oh, Kaitlyn.
All right. We will go to, let's see, Dave. How you doing?
Hey guys, how you doing?
What's up?
Keryn, hi, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm basically calling to encourage you in your views, and I think you're great. I just love your political views and the way you're speaking out about them. And actually, honestly, nothing against you, but you guys have been a little low-key on this stuff over the years.
Well, and the big reason for that is the nonprofits, our internet audio show, is much more political than we are. This is a show that's basically about the religious aspect of it. We try not to bring the politics in because that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Well, I think what happened, though, and I can understand it, but what happened was the Christian right brought the politics in. They dragged it in here, so now we have to drag it back.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the things, I talked to Martin about this actually at Half Price one day, and I'm just glad to hear it. It's good to hear Keryn throwing the flag on the floor and yelling about it and saying she doesn't like Bush. I love this. And one thing, Ashley, you said a minute ago, where was it? Norway and England, they're all very nationalistic.
Yeah.
Well, see, that thing right there, that we just assume that that's okay. We just, that's the way it is. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I think eventually with people like Keryn and myself and a few others, we can get out from this kind of isms and anities, and everybody's divided into these little categories. We don't have to feel that way, and eventually we'll get there. And you guys are helping.
Yeah. And I do. I like... I'm trying to figure out exactly how to word this correctly, I guess. I don't want it to come across as being, un-American, we hate America, because that's not it at all.
Right.
Again, just like Keryn just was saying, just like you were saying, there's a lot of really good stuff going on in this country. We have a lot of things going for us. But we also have a couple things that aren't quite perfect. And we could either, rework our ideas or say, hey, look, wow, Germany's got some really cool ideas over there on how to deal with, education, for instance. So, let's see what they're doing right and maybe do some of that over here and make our country that little bit better.
Right, absolutely.
But yeah, I would like to see.
Congratulating you guys. Well, I am trying to congratulate you guys for helping us to get to where it's okay to admit, gee, maybe we don't do everything perfectly. Maybe we have too many homeless people in the street. Maybe we should see how Finland doesn't. That kind of thing. I think that's really useful. And
Yeah.
Who knows? Eventually we'll get there. I mean, here's a perfect example. I'm not from Texas. I don't know if you guys, maybe you're native Texans, and I'm going to offend you, even though you're trying not to be jingoistic. I'm from Wyoming, right? I moved here, and, you know, everybody's always telling me this beautiful hill country, schmill country. I mean, the most beautiful part of Texas is like a roadside rest in Wyoming. You know, so there's this kind of thing like that where if you say this isn't as pretty as what I come from in Wyoming, you're a criminal or something.
Yeah.
You know, and that
Don't
we
mess
have to
with
get out
Texas.
from under that kind of thinking, I think.
Yeah. Don't mess with Texas.
Anyway, I'll quit bothering you. But Keryn, welcome and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling. Yeah, that whole patriotism thing. Again, I believe.
Was it? Oh, we
I'm
just
sorry.
lost both
I
lines.
think we just lost
Whoever
both
just
lines.
called
If
in,
you are on
call
hold,
back.
I'm sorry. Call back in. Sorry about that. But yeah, like say, once you start dividing up the world into countries, and again, it's a little bit more difficult or easier to do, I guess, in America because America is such a large place. Again, I mean, to the north you have Canada, south you have Mexico, and that's kind of about it. You know, even where we are right now, you know, in central Texas, Austin, it's a trek to get to Mexico. You know, it's not, you can't just jump in your car and 20 minutes later you're in a different country. In Europe, you can do that. And so, and it's much easier. It's neat to be able to get on a ferry and, you know, go from England to Norway, get on a train, go down to France, and it's just very accessible and easy to get around. And now with the EEC, it makes it even easier. And so it makes it nice. You can see different cultures and how they're working and kind of take ideas from here and there and make the whole place a little bit better. One other problem, though, is that Americans are very headstrong, more so than most other countries. And a lot of times, there are just certain things that work in other countries that will not work here, period. Roundabouts. Excellent idea, work spectacularly well in other countries. And I've seen them in a couple places in the States, but not many. But I could see in a major city, they would not work at all because American drivers just don't do that. But like I say, they're an excellent idea. I encourage them everywhere. So, anyway, we are sorry. I believe that we have one of our callers back. Sandra, you there?
Yes, hello.
Hi. Did I hang up on you before? I'm sorry.
Well, I think I was just cut off.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay. First of all, I really do like your program.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm going to make a comment, and it's not intended as a put down for either one of you or anybody.
Okay.
Okay? But something that really bugs me is that people use the word America to refer to this country.
Versus United States?
Yes.
Okay.
Because America is a continent of 33 countries.
Okay.
So, you know, I was just, you know, like I say, it's just a comment.
No, that's a very valid point. Yeah.
I think it is. If you deal with Hispanic people, you know, you'll find that this is very, very, very offensive. You know?
Okay.
Really?
And they may not tell you this, but you know, many people are offended with this.
Okay. All right.
Thank
No,
you.
that's a really valid point.
Okay. Thank
Here we go being Americans again.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling. No, it is a valid point. I have heard that a couple times.
I've never heard that
So-
before. That's it.
Just quoting something else. It's not your fault.
So,
Was I?
You were quoting something else that had America in it.
okay.
Was I?
All right. Anyway. Oh, excuse me. Still got a little bit of allergies I'm getting over, so I'm coughing up a lot. Excuse me. Anyway, we can go to John. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty well. What you got for us?
Great. Well, I'm visiting from out of town, and this is the first time I've seen your show on TV, so I figured I'd see what you guys are up to.
Okay.
I'm just kind of wondering where you guys come from as far as your beliefs. I mean, why exactly you choose to be atheists?
Okay. I was raised religious, and basically I went to church every week. I was raised Catholic, brought to church, all that kind of stuff. Went to catechism. It's something that it basically never rang true for me. I always had questions and doubts and never heard any really good answers. And then after just looking more into different religious ideas and different philosophies and, what we know about the world and what we don't know about the world, I just started seeing that the idea of God and religion, it's a nice, comforting idea, but that doesn't necessarily make it true. We don't have any good, solid evidence that there is some invisible being that created the universe and loves us. We don't have any evidence of anything like that. We have natural explanations for why this planet is here, how life could have started, how life got to where it is now. And it answers more questions than saying, well, God did it. So that's my position, at least.
Okay. Well, I can understand that to some extent, but at the same time, when, everything was created, I think that, you have to rely upon some kind of major power to have started at least something. I understand evolution and something, but, who created the first microorganism?
Okay. Well, again, there are some things that we're trying to figure out. Science doesn't have all the answers to everything, and...
Well, neither does religion, though.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and I come from a different background than Ashley comes from. I was raised... you could argue that I was raised atheist. My mother, and I just finished writing this up on my bio for the website, but basically my mother is a non-specific spiritualist and my father is a strong atheist, and I'm Jewish on both sides of my family.
Wow.
And I've been a practicing Jew my entire life up to today. I am... And
including today, I assume.
And including today. Happy Passover. My parents just tried to give me as much information as possible and allow me to make my own decision. And for most of my life, I wanted to believe in God the same way I wanted to believe in fairies and unicorns. It was a comforting idea. It answered a lot of questions in a very easy way. Lately, I don't feel that way anymore, especially with all the stories that I hear in the news. As being part of this atheist group, we hear a lot of really, really scary stuff. And I've spent a little bit more time analyzing the stories in the Bible, and the God that's written in the Bible is kind of a scary guy and kind of cruel. And the stuff that's done in the name of religion is pretty scary stuff. And I think that God raises more questions than it answers. And in science, we can say we don't know all the answers yet. And we may never know all the answers, but we're getting there slowly. Every now and again we answer a new question. But as an atheist, you're allowed to say that. You're allowed to say, we don't know yet, because we don't know yet. We haven't gotten there. We're learning something new every day. In religion, you're not allowed to say that. In religion, you're if you don't know it, it's because of God. And if you don't know what that means, then you don't have enough faith.
Right. It all comes down to faith. And, of course, that's one of the most important things in religion. So... I don't know, science can explain a lot, but I don't think it can explain everything.
Not yet. And it may never be able to explain everything. But I have complete faith that science is going to figure a lot of stuff out. If you think about just how much we've learned in the last century, how much stuff we're going to learn from here on out for the rest of time,
It can sometimes be a little bit hard becoming comfortable with I don't know, and just having this big gaping hole, as in we know pretty well how this planet got here and how it came to be like it is. We have pretty good idea on once life is here, how it became us, essentially.
Okay.
That in-between period of exactly how the first life formed. There's a lot of theories out there, a lot of debate, but we don't have any really good solid answers. That's a pretty important hole. But again, it's more intellectually honest to say I don't know than to say, well, God must have done it. That plugging it up with God basically stifles discovery. If you think that you have an answer, that especially religion usually says you're not allowed to question this answer. You just take it. Then it stops you from looking any further.
Well, I kind of disagree with that because, I'm a very religious person, but at the same time I question religion quite heavily because, if there's something I'm unsure about, then I don't want it to sit there and, ride on me and make me not believe, so I'll look further. And, try and find the answer so I can, you know.
And that's what you do, but religion typically doesn't teach that.
Yeah, I mean...
Religion is usually pretty strict on, you know, you don't question these things. This is what God says, this is the answer.
And it's new these days that people are allowed to do that without being excommunicated from the church, because now they're more afraid that they're going to lose all of their followers, because they'd have to excommunicate everybody now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it used to be that if you questioned God, if you questioned religion at all, if you questioned anything it taught, you're out of here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that was just the Mormons.
Actually, it was pretty much any religion to a certain extent. Again, America has kind of changed that just because we have this freedom of religion over here.
Right.
And so religions typically don't stick around if they start excommunicating everybody.
True.
So we stopped doing that to a certain extent.
Well, I appreciate your talking to me.
All right.
And thank you a lot.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's been one of the interesting things about how America, it has a relatively free economy, and so we've got lots and lots and lots and lots of businesses that go on and start up and come down and stuff like that. That's the same argument can be applied to religion. That's why this is such a religious country, is because we have this freedom of religion. Any nutball who has an idea about God can get on a street corner and start his own church. And if he's got ideas that make more people happy than the church on the other street corner, then he's going to get people coming to his church and donating him money. And the government can't really say anything unless he's doing something illegal. But assuming that, you know, he's just giving out ideas, then he's free to do that. But like I say, that's how we have so much religion, is because everybody can start a religion over here. You know, this may be largely Christian, but once you start getting down to, you know, you're a Baptist versus a Methodist versus a Lutheran versus whatever, atheists outnumber most specific Christian denominations.
Really?
I don't have the actual statistic, but if you took it, the number of atheists versus Baptists, we outnumber them. Atheists versus Catholics, we outnumber them. Now, if you want to group all Christians together, we don't. But yeah, I think over just about any religion, any specific sect of a religion, we outnumber them.
I did not know that.
So, yay us. All right, let's see. We have got Sal. How you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah, pretty well. What you got for us?
I was just calling because yesterday on television on the History Channel, I saw it was like a thing about heaven or hell. And they had something about, that they had purgatory. And I wasn't really too sure about that. And I was, hang on. Sarah.
Yes?
No, he's asking somebody else in the room to back him
hang
up
on, never mind, she had left.
Okay.
Well, anyways, I'm not too sure whether, like, what to believe, because, I've been, Catholic for a while.
Okay.
And going to church, and on the History Channel, I learned that there's a thing called purgatory.
Yeah.
So now that I see this atheist, like, I'm kind of questioning about religion.
Whole bunch of new ideas. Purgatory, I mean, I have heard about it. I know basically what the idea is. I haven't heard too much actual biblical basis for it. I haven't seen any, John 8:26 says, and thee shall go to purgatory for whatever. If it is in there, I'm not sure on it. Excuse me. But as far as atheism, essentially it's just lack of belief in a God. And again, the general idea typically that we hold is that we haven't seen any really good evidence for gods specifically, or just any general gods. And so when you're dealing with something that important, as in how to live your life and what rules you should live by, that's a kind of important thing. And some evidence, some real-world evidence to back that up would be a good thing.
But what happens, like, after you live your life? What does the atheist believe what will happen to him?
Yeah.
You die and you decompose underground, and your body breaks apart and becomes part of the soil, and the soil feeds the plants, and the plants feed the animals, and it's this great big circle of life that has nothing to do with religion.
Yeah, this is basically the life that we have. Again, we don't see any kind of evidence of souls or spirits or any kind of afterlife or anything. It's a nice idea. If it could be proven, I'm all for it. But again, I'm all for a lot of things that aren't actually out there.
Yeah, I mean, basically, your spirit per se, the essence of who you are, is a function of your brain, and when your brain dies, that dies too. And in some senses, that scares a lot of people. A lot of people are scared by the fact that well, I just can't accept that when I die, that's it, everything's gone. And well, I don't really believe that, because I strongly believe in the power of living on in other people's memories, leaving your mark on the world, passing your body, your soul, your spirit on through your children, through your bloodline, through the people you touch and affect during your life.
Yeah, you mark the world.
Well, yeah, I believe in that also, but I mean, my girlfriend's a Catholic, and I have her on the phone, but Sarah, you want to say something?
Nah, that's cool.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you. Oh, can I also say that it's her birthday, and happy 16th birthday to my girlfriend?
Okay.
Oh, happy birthday.
Love you, sir.
Okay.
All right, bye.
All right, thanks for calling.
That's so cute. Nobody's ever done that before, have they? Use us.
Getting their birthday wishes on the Atheist Experience.
Aww.
Don't know. How sweet.
Okay.
All right. We'll go to... Excuse me. Mike, how you doing?
Hi, guys.
Hey.
First, let me say happy birthday to the guy's girlfriend. Previous callers this time asked you guys why you choose to be atheist, and from my perspective, when I asked that, I don't choose to be atheist. I just am, because I don't choose to believe in some invisible supernatural being. So therefore, by definition, I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
Right.
It's often said by default everyone is an atheist. Nobody is born with a belief in God.
Right. And now, Keryn, I believe, I agree with all the things you said earlier, but now I do. I think this country is pretty good. I think it's the people who are making it not so good. I agree with you that Bush has to be gotten rid of. We need to get him out of there. I hate to see Nader running, because I think that's going to take votes away from Kerry, and I just want to see Bush out of there. I don't care how, just get him out. But again, this country, with the Constitution, again, it's not perfect, but it's set up that we can make it good, we can make it better, and I think if people work towards it, we can make this the best country in the world. But the problem is, I think there are too many Christians, and they want to keep their religion in it. Yeah. And once we can get rid of that, I think this country can be the best country in the world.
Yeah.
As far as taking votes away from Kerry, I really think we need to have somebody run for a different party who will take votes away from Bush to balance that out.
Yeah.
Roy Moore.
Yeah, I don't think we're allowed to. Yeah, well, I don't know. Anyway, and as far as, what was the other thing I was going to respond to? As far as the people being in control of this, it really, one of the things that scares me the most about President Bush is that it really seems like he's actively trying to undo the democratic system that gives our country checks and balances, that gives our country an opportunity to change things we don't like. I think there's a lot of people who want to do away with the Electoral College, but they just can't figure out how to do it. And now, people are afraid that President Bush is going to enact the, Patriot Act, so that we can't even vote because we're in the middle of a war, so that he has to become president for another 4 years. He's trying to make it so that, we can't...
A lot of this stuff is, to a certain extent, fear-mongering now by the other side. As in, that could be looked at as, this is one of the good things about this country, or one of the bad things, depending on how you're looking at it. As in, we have certain things that are really, 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 really difficult to change. And those are things which... typically shouldn't change, at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And so, it's not really possible that we could say, okay, no elections. That's it. Taking power, end of story.
And one of the really important things about a country is that our country is based on the concept of freedom, and pretty much all of our constitutional amendments in some way enable us to have rights. They give us rights. They give us access to equality. They give us access to, being able to try and get what we want out of the world. But, another thing about President Bush is that he's starting to try and pass constitutional amendments that rather than creating rights, they're going to take away rights. I mean, rather than protecting rights, they're going to prevent rights.
Yeah, they're
going to prevent equality. The Gay Marriage Act is going to say, listen, we think you're less than human, and we're going to treat you like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's, I mean, this is the first time that's happened since Prohibition. Prohibition took away rights, and it didn't last very long. So, I mean, hopefully, even if he does manage to pass that, it's not going to last more than 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. And one last comment, I guess, on the flag. What I don't understand is you can't burn the flag, but I can go buy a pair of shorts. It looks like the flag, and I can sit on it. I mean, what's up with that? If, again, you know, to me, the flag is a piece of cloth, and if a person wants to burn it to make a statement, I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But to me, it's hypocritical to say, you can't go burn a flag, but yet you can buy a pair of shorts and sit on it. You can buy a bandana that's like the flag and put on your head and sweat in it, whatever. It just it makes no sense. It's a piece of cloth. And
it represents something, and if, you know,
I think that serves two functions. It serves to prevent people of their right to expression.
Exactly.
And it promotes idolatry, because, I mean, you're burning a piece of cloth that just happens to have a certain variation of chemicals that make it dye a certain color, that are going to give it a certain pattern that looks like an American flag. And if we're going to create so much symbolism that we're not ever allowed to burn that, I mean, we're going to get to the point where if somebody draws a picture of a flag on a piece of paper and then throws it away, they're going to go to prison. I don't know, but...
Anyway, good show, guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks for calling. All right, let's see. Okay, let's go to Saul. How you doing?
Hello, good. How are you?
Yeah, quite well.
Good. I thank you for taking my call today.
Okay, what you got for us?
Well, right now I'm in a nursing home. I'm rather old, and I've just kind of had some wonders, you know, about what's going to happen after I die.
Okay.
And you know, I've always believed as a spiritual person that you go to heaven, but you know, what about the atheists? I mean, what if I wanted to do this? What would I do?
Well, I'm kind of like to start with this question because I'm a social worker and I do work in a nursing home, and I think that the subject of death is something that atheists have a hard time addressing, because in our history, you know, death has been a very spiritual and very religious thing, and we don't have an easy way of dealing with it. There's a very good book that's called Funerals Without God, but I think that the important thing is and I think it's an important distinction between religious people and atheists, is that we focus very heavily on what happens before you die, rather than what happens after you die. I mean, you know, the way I live my life is I think this is the only chance that I get. And so if you're dealing with the issue of death, and this is one very positive thing that hospice really helps with. If you're facing death, hospice is going to help you figure out what it is that you haven't accomplished that you want to accomplish before you die. And it's going to help you figure out how you can still accomplish that. It's going to help you figure out how you can meet your goals before you die. I once read a very, very inspirational little poem that said, if you found out that you were going to die tomorrow, who would you call, what would you say, and why are you waiting? And I think that's really important. Like I said, it's very important that you get the most out of your life while you still have it. That you touch your friends and your family, that you live on in people's memories. That, you know, whatever is important to you, you know, you get the opportunity to do that, so that when you die, you are fulfilled, you're completed. You have a sense that you've accomplished something while you've been here.
Yeah.
Really, really great movie. I highly recommend is Harold and Maude. Really, really great movie.
Yeah, it's the view of focusing on life and what you do have is much stronger than looking at, you know, what could be. You know, we don't know if there's an afterlife. So, and again, in our view, don't see any evidence of it. So I'm going to bank on it's probably not there. So I'm going to try and live this life as best I can. Make sure, you know, I leave a mark and that, you know, I'm remembered in some way, hopefully in a good way. And like I say, just trying to live my life and make friends and be a good person, stuff like that. it's a good way to look at the world, to acknowledge the fact that this is the only life I get, and so I've got to make this one right. Because if I screw this one up, I'm not getting a second chance. So.
And people wonder why atheists have morals. But it's a good question. Thank you for calling in and asking it. When I first moved here to Austin, I did do a whole show on the subject of death and dying, and I would be perfectly willing to do that again. It's a very important subject.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right, we can get on to Elizabeth. How you doing?
Hello. I've actually been to a few ACA things before. I don't know if you remember me or not. My comment is for the person who called in asking about Purgatory.
Yes.
I just wanted to offer some insight on that.
Okay.
You said you didn't see any biblical reference to...
I don't remember reading anything specifically,
That's because it was invented in the Middle Ages by the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Basically, everybody has a set number of years in purgatory. The term purgatory coming from purge. It purges you of your sins before you ascend to heaven. And you have a set number of... Everyone has a set number of years based on how good a life you lived. And if you say a lot of prayers and build a lot of temples and commission a lot of religious art, you get years taken off of your sentence in purgatory.
Okay.
And why it's why you want less time in purgatory is that you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So no one knows what it
Being in a
is.
state of limbo.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's limbo. And
so how did hell enter into this?
See, I don't know that much about it other than
Okay.
This is something that we talked about in my art history class when we were talking about Hieronymus Bosch and the Garden of Earthly Delights.
Okay.
And I just thought it was interesting that there is no biblical reference to purgatory. It's something that was invented in the Middle Ages by the Catholic Church.
Okay. So it's kind of hell light.
Yeah, it's but the reason there was so much art in the Middle Ages and into the Renaissance, so much religious art commissioned by wealthy people like the Medicis, is that the more temples you build and the more temples you build, or churches I guess they would be, that you can worship in and say your prayers in, monks you hire to say prayers for.
Okay, kind of cutting out on us a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So if whoever that is still watching, that's what purgatory is.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks for calling. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I hadn't seen anything in the Bible on that. I've known the basic idea of it. It's just kind of, it's in between heaven and hell. But yeah, the details on that I haven't heard of. So that's interesting. I have to look up a little bit more on that and see. All right. Let's go on to Rueben. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, pretty well.
I'm a I'd just like to say I'm a student going to UT.
Okay.
And I was raised as a Christian, but I've kind of gone away from that.
Okay.
And the one thing that I do believe in, however, is that we are individual and we do have our own souls. And my question to you is, do y'all believe that we have souls and that we are unique?
Those are two different questions.
Yeah.
I believe we have souls. I mean, I believe we don't have souls, but we are definitely unique.
Well,
and
so you just believe that we're just here just out of nowhere? I mean,
yeah, kind of.
I assume you mean. I'm assuming you. Well,
my question is what makes us in our own body,
So what makes you you and me?
Right. I mean, why do you wake up in your body every morning? That's my question.
Yeah. I would basically say brain chemistry. It's life. It's we have a brain. Everybody's brain is kind of pretty similar when you're born. Genetic differences, but to a certain extent we're the same. And then life experiences kind of take over from there. Again, nature and nurture defines who you are, how you think, what kind of decisions you make. If it's raining this morning, are you going to get up and get out and do something, or are you just going to curl up on the couch with a good book? That's again, nature and nurture defines that, and that makes you who you are. There's nothing spiritual about it. There's nothing mystical or magical or unearthly.
And
it's so many years of you living that defines who you are.
If you haven't heard it before, I mean, the expression nature and nurture. Nature refers to the biological functions that you're born with. How well your brain functions, how well your body functions. What kind of things you're predisposed to do because of how you're made up biologically. And nurture refers to your environment, the kind of care that you're given as an infant, the kind of care that you're given as a child, the kind of experiences that come to you. Were you exposed to death at an early age? Were you raised in America or raised in France? Were you raised by atheists or raised by religious people? Were you surrounded by a bunch of optimists or pessimists? That's the nurture part. And you kind of become who you are, through those two things. And you grow into, you develop your personality, you grow into it.
Right, so essentially you're saying that, everyone basically, fundamentally we're all the same. It's just we're just in a certain body, and we're a product of our environment, and that's what makes us who we are.
Yeah,
basically,
much.
Yeah, it's all changes
That's very
in wiring.
interesting. That's very interesting. I don't believe in Christianity and things like that in hell. I personally do not believe in hell.
Okay.
But I do believe that we do have a soul, and for whatever reason we're here, and we're meant to do good things and not evil things. But thank you for hearing your opinion, giving your opinion. So
okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Sean. Yeah,
I wanted to throw that in because we throw out the term nature and nurture a lot, but we never actually define it. And I don't know if that's because we assume that everybody's heard it before, but that's
yeah.
Once in a while, it's good to restate stuff.
Yeah. And again, going back to the soul or the spirit or your personality or however you want to define it. It is something you kind of worded it in a way that you're living in this body. I don't think that your consciousness or your soul or whatever you want to call it is a separate entity from your physical body. It is part of your physical body. It is a chemical process that goes on in your brain that defines who you are and what you do. Again, when you die, your brain process stops, and so you dies with it. Just like if you take a truck and if you start taking it apart, eventually it stops becoming a truck. There's no truck essence that you can take out, and therefore it's not a truck anymore. It's a collection of parts, and they work together in a certain way. Same thing that we are. So, all right, let's go to Molly. How you doing?
Hi, I'm fine.
Okay.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
I have a question.
Okay.
I was raised as Catholic. Things happened within my own religion, or answers that I were given that I didn't think were judgment calls that people on earth were supposed to make.
Okay.
And so I didn't go to church for like 20-some-odd years. Not recently, 2001, and I had a lot of questions about a lot of things. I believe there was an energy force of some kind. I believe maybe sometimes I called it a higher power. I don't know whether I believed that there was a God. I didn't believe necessarily in the whole thing. There were things I didn't choose, but I really didn't. And then I got very sick. I got hepatitis C.
Okay.
And anger, not in love. In anger, I said, "Okay, God, if you exist, prove it to me."
Yeah.
And I got 3 distinct things that happened.
Okay.
The third one was indisputable. And the first time it happened, I said, "Okay, that was really good. I want to see something else."
Okay.
A second thing happened, and then I said, "Okay, that was pretty good too. I'd like to see something else." The third thing, I couldn't ask for another vision or another sign because it was so in my face.
Okay.
There was no way to dispute it.
Okay.
Now, how do you answer that?
I'd be very interested to hear what these things were.
Okay, the first thing was I go take my dog for a walk in this certain park, and I go there all the time. And I've been going there for 5 years. And I had just found out I had hepatitis, and I was asking this person that you don't believe in, that I now do, to prove to me that he existed. And I got out of my car, and I've been to this park so many times that, I know, and I take the same path.
Okay.
It was like the whole park looked like it had a glow light on it. I felt an unbelievable presence of love. It didn't make any difference where I went in the park, and believe me, I went to the darkest part.
Okay.
That it wasn't glowing, and absolutely beautiful. And I got in my car and felt overwhelmed. And then I said that was and it's never been like that before, and it's never been like that since.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing was in November of that year, I went to another park. God seems to like parks. Anyway, I walked down into a grove of trees, and it was November. And actually, the butterflies should have been gone. And I was surrounded by about 25 monarch butterflies.
Okay.
They did not land on me. They just were surrounding. And I said, that was really good, so I'd like to see something else. At Christmas, I went into my garage and was trying to get my stuff out for Christmas decorations. And for some reason, I decided to straighten out a shelf that had nothing to do with what I was doing. There was no reason for me to do that. And I went through and found some books, and I was going through them, and I found a Bible that my mother had given me when I was a child. And I said, okay, that's it. Don't prove me anymore. I've got the answer.
Okay.
So I'm asking you, how does that happen? I mean, it was like I asked for in an argumentative form. I wasn't nice about my request.
Yeah.
If you don't believe, then where does that force come from? What was that?
Yeah. Selective looking at the world through a certain kind of lens can definitely put things there that aren't there, or give them them a meaning that may not actually be there.
But the Bible, it wasn't like I was saying give something a meaning. I didn't even believe when I asked that anything was going to happen that was going to make me look.
But how many people do have a Bible, tucked in a corner of their garage or
how many
house or
people
something?
go into their garage and are trying to get out something else and don't? I wasn't there to go look at what sent me to that shelf, what sent me to look through those books when I didn't even have to, or the things that were on that shelf. Why did I do that? I've been in this house for 5 years. And I hadn't done that before.
Well, I think if you're going to ask any atheist, it's a series of coincidences. It's possible that you saw the park through that light because you were feeling spiritual, or because it happened to be a full moon. The stars were very bright. There were no clouds in the sky, and Mars was very, very close. So there happened to be a lot of light shining down on the park that day.
I wasn't feeling spiritual. I was feeling angry.
Right.
And I was feeling angry at all the people that told me there was a God. And I was feeling angry at God if He really did exist. And I wasn't acting in a spiritual manner, and I wasn't requesting the information in a spiritual manner, and I didn't feel spiritual.
And when was this again?
Huh?
And this was, I think you said, 2001?
It was in things have happened since then, but I won't get into those.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, but it was in 2001.
And again, over time, your mind can definitely take a certain experience and change the factors in it to make it seem more relevant than it was.
Okay, I'll grant that on the 2 park expeditions, but I won't grant it on the Bible one.
Okay. And as for the Bible, I mean, again, I see. I'm reluctant to answer this question because I believe that if it was important for you to find value in these experiences, then I don't want to take that away from you. And I believe that for most people who do believe in God, they believe in God because it gives them something that they're not getting somewhere else. It answers questions that they need answered, or it provides them with an emotional outlet that they can't find somewhere else. A lot of people just can't accept that when you die, that's it, you just die. So they believe in God because it's comforting. And so I don't want to take that experience from you. But I mean, if you're going to ask any skeptic-minded atheist, we're going to say, well, that Bible was there in your garage. It got there somehow. I don't believe it was placed there by God, because you said it wasn't just a random Bible that just showed up randomly. It was a Bible your mother gave you, and you put it in your garage a long time ago, and you happened to stumble across it.
I don't think He placed it there. I know that it was placed there. What I'm saying is that the timing was just very, whatever. But, I mean, I guess we'll all know the answer when we die.
Yeah.
You as well as I. But I just that experience. Well, I mean, we all have our own interpretations of things.
And of course, for an atheist, I mean, we're not going to. What we believe is that when you die, you just kind of cease to exist. So we're not even going to know the answer when we die, because we won't be alive to know the answer.
Well, that's not necessarily true, but I mean, as somebody said to me that was very spiritual, if you want to believe the alternative, think of the cost. But
that's the
no. But what I'm saying is the Bible incident to me, guys. I can grant you the park thing. Although the second one was a little difficult to grant, but the Bible thing,
and
that was totally
And you can find symbolism in a lot of things.
Well, you don't believe in God, so you don't believe in the Bible. But
well, no, I mean, I have one right here.
Okay, but if you're saying...
I believe the Bible exists.
The existence of the Bible is not in dispute.
But you don't believe the existence of God. Okay,
exactly.
I guess that's true.
Exactly.
I mean, is the true definition of an atheist is that you don't believe in anything, but you do believe in something?
Well, we don't believe in gods.
Okay. So if you don't believe in God, the person I was directly asking for this proof to was God, who I didn't necessarily believe in either.
Yeah. Well,
and
again,
I didn't believe. I was angry. It wasn't that I was sitting there saying, I really love you and I want to believe in you. It was like, prove me that you really exist because I don't believe it, and I was angry.
And that would also usually be, my question is, again, if God is all-powerful and he really wants to help you out in this experience, again, I'm assuming that the general idea here is you were going through a bad patch, you wanted some kind of confirmation, and he says...
many bad patches. It was this is like one more bad patch.
Yeah, and I know this is oversimplifying the situation, and I accept that definitely. But then he is coming into your life and saying, okay, don't worry about it, I'm here. My issue, I guess, would be, why isn't he being a little bit stronger in it?
Being very strong in it.
Why with these relatively,
cryptic.
Again, when you're talking about an all-powerful being, that's a pretty cryptic thing to say, here, let's have a whole bunch of bugs flying around.
Rather than having like a bush burning in your garage that's not being...
Do what?
It's a bush burning in your garage that's not being consumed by the fire, and the voice of God coming out of it.
That I'm not even, it's like my viral load after these 3 experiences dropped radically.
Yeah.
And my doctor said, I don't know why this is or what happened.
Yeah.
But whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
I mean, here's the thing, is for every person who has ever asked God for a sign and been given one, there's probably at least twice as many people that have been asked God for a sign and not been given one. For every person who has survived a disease or an illness or a hard experience, and because they asked God to get them through it, there are hundreds and thousands and millions of people who died from that same experience even though they asked God for help. And the religious answer to that is God works in mysterious ways. Well, if God doesn't want me to believe in him, then I don't, because he's never given me any sign that he exists. He's never given me any irrefutable sign. I'm not going to walk into my garage and notice that there's a mysterious glow and say, wow, there's a God. It's going to take a little bit more than that from me. It's going to take...
It wasn't a mysterious glow.
Some hard...
Keryn?
Yes.
It wasn't a mysterious glow.
Well, that's the way you described the park experience. The first
Bible is the one that got me.
Well, I mean, the first park experience. I'm not going to walk into a park and notice there's a mysterious glow and say that's irrefutable evidence
more than that
there's a God. I could say that's irrefutable evidence that something's going on. There could be a full moon. There could be very few clouds in the sky. Maybe a park lamp went out somewhere nearby so the stars are shining more light.
It wasn't night. It was during the day. There were no park lamps. It was not a sunny day particularly. It was kind of an overcast day.
The point still remains, though, that, again, if this is an all-powerful, loving being, I would prefer some better way to show it than through, relatively cryptic messages.
What do you want that showing to be?
I don't know. He's all powerful. He should be able to figure something out that's going to work.
He's going to figure something out eventually.
But again, if he's going to decide that, okay, this person who has cancer, for instance, I will heal them. This person over here, I won't heal them. I want to know why. If he's got a rhyme or reason to the methods of picking, what is that rhyme or reason? Is it just that this person wasn't praying?
I don't think he gave that person the cancer, and I don't think he heals that person necessarily. That's part of free will. What I am saying is, I could have died from hepatitis. That wasn't the point. The point was that because so many other things had happened besides this, and this was just like another brick on top of a huge pyramid of things, that I finally got so angry that I asked for proof of an existence. And I was totally ready to believe that I would get no proof, and that I would then, therefore, be able to believe what I believed, that there was no existence. But instead of that happening, the reverse happened. And
but again, in the back of your mind, you did have that question that there is something out there. what are you asking, and who are you asking if you don't believe?
Do you not think there's some sort of energy force in the world?
I don't have any belief in that. I don't.
So you don't believe there's any energy force in the world?
Well, there's energy.
Not in the kind that you're.
Not spiritual energy.
I mean, the Earth itself rotates all the time. We're continually going around. But
that's gravity,
magnetic force all over. So you don't believe in any of that?
There's all kinds of different. No, we believe in anything that can be scientifically proven. Well, we believe in matter, energy, gravity, magnetism. We believe in that kind of energy. I believe in. What was it? Newton's third law that energy can neither be created or destroyed. I mean, I believe in that kind of energy. I don't necessarily believe that there's some, spirit with a long white beard floating up in the sky controlling the things that we see and do. I believe in biology. I believe in science. I believe that things happen for a reason, and when I say that, I don't mean that things happen for a spiritual, religious reason because somebody's hovering over me controlling it. I believe that they happen because of some biological process.
Controlling it because he's giving you free will. But there's a new book out called The God Code by Greg Braden. I haven't read it. Okay. I am going to go buy it, and it's a new discovery that shows that there's a coded message that has been found within the molecules of light, deep within the DNA of each cell of our body through a remarkable discovery linking to biblical alphabets. Okay. And I don't know what all that says, but maybe you guys would like to read that book.
I don't know that one specifically, but I know you've at least heard of the Bible Code. You've heard of the Bible Code?
No, I haven't. I haven't read this book. I said I'm not sure what this book is about.
Well, yeah, this is it sounds like it's the similar vein. They have an old book called the Bible Code, which was basically if you go back to the old original Hebrew and Greek text or whatever, and you take we'll say the fifth letter of this section of the Bible, and it'll say something about JFK being shot, and then if you take the 13th letter of this section of the Bible, then it'll tell about Germany and World War II.
Isn't the movie Pi about that?
Huh?
I don't know.
See the movie Pi. I think the movie.
A lot of questions that you guys.
But no, I mean, it's a little bit more than that. But basically, that was the basic premise of the book is that there's a lot of stuff hidden essentially in the Bible that if you know how to look for it, you can find it.
Okay.
Now the problem with that is Russell Glasser, one of the co-hosts of the show, wrote a script for the computer where you put in any text file and it does these random searches, look at the fifth letter, look at the third letter, look at the 26th letter and stuff like that. And he put in like the ACA Constitution and he found lots of historical facts that were hidden away in it. If you dig around in something long enough and if you look at DNA long enough, you can find patterns.
Whatever. If you are looking for something, you'll find it.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I'm not looking for anything anymore, actually.
Well, no, that's going back to the book that you were talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that, for me, it's just simply that I'm not into a lot of organized religions. Okay. I'm not into a lot of judgmental people. I'm not into people telling me that you need to do this and you need to do that, otherwise you're going to go to... I'm not into that.
Yeah.
But... And when it was a personal request from me to God, in anger, done in anger, not in belief, not in even wanting to believe. It was like, okay, son of a bitch, you've done it again, or if you really exist, why has this happened? Yeah. And I'm through, and give me a sign. It was really angry.
Yeah.
It wasn't pleasant. It wasn't like I want to believe. It's like, look it. If you really existed, like you said, all of these things wouldn't be happening to people. Why are kids starving in Africa with flies on their stomachs? Yeah. Why are there wars? Why are people not learning how to care about each other? Why is there so much crap going on in the world?
And going back to that, I would, assuming that this were, a personal thing that happened to me, half of it would be, I would want to know, one, is there a God? And two, what's your explanation?
Of what?
What is God's explanation? If he has given me all these problems to deal with in life, he better have a really freaking good reason for it.
He's given you free will.
So, what is that?
He's given you free will.
Well, that's a totally different subject that could take up an entire show, and I think that we should move on to the next caller. But we appreciate you calling in with your experience. We always appreciate hearing people's experiences, and honestly, if it's something very personal that happened to you, you're never going to be able to prove it to somebody else. But if it helps
I don't want to prove it to anybody.
But if it helps you believe then good for you.
It wasn't
honestly.
a question of helping me. It left me with no other answer but to.
Okay, good.
You know, it's like if you say to somebody, prove to me you're there, and they punch you in the face and say, I'm here, you say, okay, you got it. I believe you're here. You're here.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like there was a moonlight trip in the park. It was during the day.
Okay.
It wasn't like,
and honestly,
I mean,
if somebody punches you in the face and says, hey, look, I'm here, you're going to be able to see their fist mark on your face afterwards. You're going to be able to take a blood sample and tell that there's some broken blood cells in your cheek because you were punched by that person. You'll be able to feel, take little remnants of their skin, their DNA off the side of your cheek and test it. And
so we all agree, in essence, that science hasn't gone far enough to give us all the answers yet, and maybe the answers we receive will not be the
and
ones
that's
that
entirely true, and I don't think there's an atheist out there that would say that if you could give me scientific evidence, if you could give me irrefutable proof that there's a God, I still wouldn't believe in it.
Why?
I mean,
if
I don't
they
think
gave you
there's any
scientific
atheists out there.
evidence?
Huh?
If they gave you scientific evidence, you would not believe in it?
No. I'm saying I don't think there's an atheist out there that would say that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But so you are granted you don't know that you'll never get that evidence.
Yeah,
in
I'm
your
not
lifetime
saying
or
I'll never
somebody
get that
else's
evidence. Right now, as it stands, I've never been given any evidence that would convince me to believe that there is a God. And of course, the burden of proof is always on the one that's trying to prove something. You know?
I guess that's
So
reasonable.
if somebody showed me evidence, if somebody showed any atheist evidence, the chances are we'd all believe it.
Well, that's good.
Now, it also
I
goes,
personally have been given evidence.
Yeah. And the second point to it is, again, even if, there was evidence that came out tomorrow that, look, the God, and again, just for an example here, the God of the Bible is, the correct one, then I've got some serious questions and answers for him.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
because again, there's a lot of good, there's
I
good
think we're all a work
things.
in progress. I think we always
Thou
have
shalt not
serious
kill.
questions.
I'm pretty much for that one.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other stuff in the Bible and a lot of other stuff that I have, serious issues with.
Right. It's going to raise a lot of questions if it ever
I
happens.
have serious questions, but I could get my questions answered by some way.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Good
Thank
for you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
Let's move on to the next caller. We've got 8 more minutes left in the show, so there's 2 more callers on the line. We probably won't be able to get to too many more. But
we will try. We will try and see. Okay, Russell, how you doing?
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
Listen, I'm afraid I have to say that I was very disappointed by the last caller because when she said she had received irrefutable evidence that
you got really excited? Oh, yay!
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping, I was really expecting that it would be something like, my canonical example is, the stars rearrange themselves in the sky and say, I'm up here.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good idea.
Yep.
I might
that
believe
kind of works.
that. Of course, that could be mass hallucination, but...
Yeah.
But, I mean, here's the thing. What it appears to be is that this person already believed in God. I mean, whether she...
didn't like him or did like him.
Yeah.
Right.
Was angry with him.
The fact that she was angry at God indicates that she believed there was something there to be angry at.
Yeah.
And I don't care whether something was made in the spirit of anger or not. Basically, she was asking, she was putting herself in a frame of mind where she was expecting to see something as evidence for God, and then everything that came along appeared to be that evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, finding a Bible in a garage is not that uncommon an event.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have one. I don't have a garage, but I've got a Bible.
I know, we're atheists. We have Bibles.
Yeah. And not only that, I mean, this happened over a period of several months.
Yeah.
So, there must have been a whole lot of times between the asking and the receiving when she walked into the garage and didn't notice the Bible there.
Exactly.
I mean, Richard Dawkins, in his book Unweaving the Rainbow, talks about something he calls pet whack, for short.
Okay.
Which means the probability of events that would have appeared, I forget what the last one was, but I mean, the probability of an event that would appear to fulfill your expectations.
Yeah.
If you're just going around every single day waiting for something miraculous to happen, the longer you wait and the more different events you experience, and the more open you are to have various things fulfill your experience, the more likely it's going to be. I mean, you know, did it have to be a Bible if she had found, like, the Celestine Prophecy lying there, or a copy of Left Behind, the series, or something like that? Yeah. Would that also have fulfilled her expectations?
Yeah. And again, going back to what we were saying earlier about putting yourself in that mindset of finding something, you'd be surprised exactly how many people own the same kind of new car that you do, because every time you buy something, then again, if you all of a sudden notice, you know, that certain type of red Chevy or something like that, they're all over the frickin' place because you're looking for it. And so they've always been there.
All I'm saying is she must have a very low standard for proof, and that's okay. I mean, when you asked her why didn't God show anything more impressive, well, what he showed supposedly worked for her.
Was impressive,
so he didn't need to. But if I would ask for proof, which, you know, I have for more, and I have before in the spirit of good fun, nothing I noticed seemed to be sufficiently impressive to make me decide to change my mind.
Yeah.
And what I notice is that a lot of people who take these kind of extremely subjective experiences as proof of God also find it hard to believe that that anyone could not believe in God, which is kind of weird when you think about it, because if they had some kind of amazing event happen to them, and that's why they believe in God, they must realize that somebody who didn't have that event happen wouldn't have the same reasons.
Yeah.
And yet the attitude you find is, oh, well, you must have had some kind of experience where God showed you he was up there, but you didn't notice it.
Oh.
which is strange, because on the one hand, it's incredible enough that it's what she called irrefutable proof. Yeah. But on the other hand, it's vague enough that you could just have it happen to you and completely miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to be looking. You have to keep your eyes peeled, and you have to have a very, very, very open mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So that's all.
Okay.
Honestly, and a lot of people will ask an atheist, you know, if you know, what's the benefit of being an atheist? Because, you know, if you give Christianity the benefit of the doubt, then the odds are higher that you're going to go to heaven. Well, if God really wants me to go to heaven, then he's going to give me evidence to show me that I shouldn't be an atheist. Yeah. If God, you know, and I live my life in such a way that I am a just person, I'm a social worker, I dedicate my time towards helping other people's lives be a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable. I'm a vegan. I try and live my life in a way that I think is good and just and fair and right and decent, you know, and if God is going to send me to hell, then I don't think I want to be with God anyway, because God isn't a good person if I'm not living my life good enough. But if I'm not living my life good enough, then he needs to show me that so that I can change my ways. And right now he's not doing that.
Yeah. Even in something as simple as the dating world, very early on, you usually get down to the non-negotiables. As in, you know, my date must be this way or not this way. You must have certain qualities, not have other qualities. And those are non-negotiables. If God is going to say for your eternal soul, you must do this, that, or the other, you can't do this, that, or the other, I want to frickin' know about it. You know, this is not some frou-frou, you know, little, it would be kind of nice to know, or just have faith, or whatever. If he really loves me, he had better come forth and say, look, here's what I need. Now, whether you like it or not, that's a side note. You know, I don't like everything my parents do, but my parents have pretty strict rules too.
Yeah, and you know, the standard line about that is that if he showed you that good of proof, then he'd be taking away your free will, which is kind of too bad for Moses, for whom he parted the Red Sea right in front of his eyes. You know,
exactly.
Bye-bye free will, Moses.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, got to let you go. Got 10 seconds left of the show.
Great show, guys.
Thanks for calling. And everybody, hope you have a good rest of the week. There are our love rings. Thanks for watching the show, and we will see you next week.